Greetings everyone, and welcome to another WIS Technology tutorial. In today's lesson I'm going to be talking about an application known as Pear Deck, and I think you're going to like what this has to offer. So what you're looking at on the screen right now are three different views of the exact same presentation. Pear Deck is sort of a slide deck application, but what it does is it allows you to interact with your students in real time, collectively or even individually. And then it lets you save that data to consult later if you so choose. So I've created a small Pear Deck to kind of demonstrate some of its features, and I just want to first identify who is who on my screen. So on the far left you have the student iPad. Okay, this student has yet to enter the code to begin participating in the presentation. In the middle is the teacher dashboard. This is my iPhone, and right now nobody has joined this session. Note that there is also this invite a class button. So if you've enabled the classroom integration, you can very quickly get all of your students into the class to participate in a Pear Deck session. And then finally, on the right-hand side, this is the projector view. So if I'm in my class, this is what is being projected. So it's important to keep track of these views because there may be times where you don't want the students to see who said what, so on and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in to this presentation by punching in this code over on the student iPad. Now you'll notice almost immediately I can see on the teacher dashboard that student 1 has joined the presentation. Once all of these lights are green and all of my students are in class, I can then advance the slides from my phone. So I can be anywhere in the classroom and I can see what they're doing on their own devices as we go. And you'll notice that if you watch the student iPad, they have no choice but to follow along. So I'm going to go ahead and tap on my phone the advance slide button. So great. The first very slide, we're not going to watch this video. This is a video on the Pear Deck website. It's very great. It's a good video. It explains a lot of the features. But the point I want to demonstrate here is that on the student device, it's forcing them to look at the projector. There's nothing on their own device for them to see when you play this video. So it's one way to kind of keep all eyes up on the screen and maintain the focus there versus on their own devices if they happen to be doing something else, so on and so forth. So this is a nice little way of forcing the attention to be placed on the screen. Again, I'm going to go back to my little remote control on my dashboard. So now it's completely identical. So if we look at the projector view and the student view, my students are seeing exactly what's being projected. So, and I can be rest assured that they're following along on this because at any given time, and you'll notice this, is that I can ask a quick question at any given time about this slide or about any other thing, which I will demonstrate here shortly. And this main slide is just describing for you the three different views that are available in your Pear Deck session. So I'm going to move again forward. And what we've been doing at WIS is I've been encouraging our teachers to use both of their devices for their Pear Deck sessions, just because it gives them the mobility to move around the classroom, and I find it works best with the two devices. If you are projecting and you still want to see the dashboard, you can easily set up your connection to your projector as an extended display. So you would simply drag the projector view over onto what's being projected, and you would keep the dashboard view on your computer screen. So here's another simple video, but I'm going to demonstrate how you can then interact with your students via the dashboard. So as I slide this over on my teacher dashboard, there's a short video here, and all it is that when you mouse over these options, it kind of gives you a sense of what the options are for interaction. We're not going to watch that here, but I could ask my teachers or my students, what do all of these options kind of have in common? And then I could ask them to reply with a written text. So what I'm going to simply do is click on this question mark to ask a quick question. Notice here it's giving me the option to ask it about this slide or anything else in general if I push this over. I'm actually going to ask it about this slide here. And now it's, well, what type of quick question? Well, I really want them to just give me a very short answer. So I'm going to click the short text answer. Now immediately the screen goes back to the video that wasn't playing, but you're going to get the thumbnail here of the video on the projector. On the student devices here, we have a place for the student to enter an answer. So I'm going to say here, they all encourage active participation. And I'm going to post it. So at this point, I can either maintain this answer as a student or I can submit a new answer. But let's take a look at the projector view. If I want the kids to see all of the other responses in the class, I'm going to go back to my projector view window. And I have a button here that says Show Student Responses. Now immediately, I get an anonymous view of what has been posted. And then I can scroll through these results in front of the class. It's probably good practice to, before showing the answers, to actually lock the student responses. This means that no one else can contribute more to the board. And then you're also guaranteed that no one else is looking at their device, because when you lock the responses, notice how the student device is basically signaling them to, hey, look up at the screen, and then you can have a conversation about what's put up there. And if you want them to then perhaps change their answer or make a different answer, you can simply release it, and they can continue to contribute. So that's kind of the idea of a quick sort of spontaneous sort of gathering of information from your students. And just to reiterate, I can actually see the name of the student who said what. So here on my dashboard it says student 1. It says they all encourage active participation. And I can move along quite speedily with this. I can go back to the projector view. This is what, actually, sorry, I can go back, I can hide the student responses, and this will take me back to the normal projector view. And I'm going to now go to the next slide. And this, again, is just reiterating the idea that Pear Deck allows for spontaneous formative assessment. So here's another option to interact with students. If I wanted people to sort of graphically show the relationship between student engagement and achievement. All right. Well, on the iPad, this is really cool because I can now pick my paintbrush and I can say like this, and I can then say this is student, my writing is really bad here, student engagement. dot, 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 dot. And I can put on the top here, student achievement. And if I wanted to take more time, I could write that much more nicely. But these responses are kind of shown in real time. If I go back to the projector view over here, actually let me control it from my teacher dashboard again. I can show student responses, and here I can see on the board, I can scroll through all of the choices that were made by the students, or how they wanted to demonstrate their understanding of student engagement and student achievement. And as previously, I can also lock those responses, so if we need to focus on the projector, we can do that. We can basically lock down the screen so they're directing their attention to the projector. So the next slide, I can go back over, is this idea of being able to have a draggable. And a draggable is fun because you can kind of watch it happen. So this is what's projected on the screen, and every student has their own little dot. And this can be a variety of icons, but in this case it's a dot. And in this case I'm asking the question, has this presentation been helpful so far? And we can give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Or we can kind of put it maybe somewhere so-so, maybe right in the middle. But after it's kind of doing its popcorn looking thing with however many students you have in your class, typically what you would do is then lock the responses and then show the student responses here, where they can't be moving them anymore. And then this kind of encourages a debate about, who's on what side of the fence, especially if you're looking to encourage a debate in your class about a particular issue. So that's kind of a cool way to interact with the devices and your students. Again, back to the teacher dashboard on my phone. I'm going to fast forward again. Here's another way to interact. I can have them draw pictures on top of other pictures. So in this case, if I wanted them to sort of let me know if you know where the frog's lungs are, I could simply take my paintbrush, and as a student, I really don't know where the lungs are, but I'm going to just say, well, maybe they're right there. Okay, and notice on my teacher dashboard, I can see who says what. So if there's any kind of discrepancies, if someone's way off the mark, then I know that I really need to make things a little bit clearer for that particular student. And I think the last example I have up here, if I click next, is if I want my students to go to a specific website, I can actually push that link to this Pear Deck session. And what you'll notice is there's a limitation where it has to be an HTTPS site, but I just happened to grab a data site. These are like real-time fire 911 calls to Seattle. But what I wanted to demonstrate is that if you needed to get everyone to one website really quickly, you can throw that into your Pear Deck, and nobody has to navigate there. It'll take them there automatically. So once you've concluded your session, you can then end it by powering down. So here on the dashboard, you've got this power down session. You can give it a name. And I'm going to call this one All About Pear Deck. And now, this is stayed in my Pear Deck account. Oops, I've got an error. I'm not sure what that was all about. But I can then revisit my sessions either on my mobile device or basically anywhere to kind of see what the students contributed, how they participated, so on and so forth. So I hope you found this 3-screen experience helpful in understanding kind of the benefits of Pear Deck and how it can increase student engagement in using technology in your lessons. And it's also fairly simple to use, as I, as one human being, was monitoring all 3 screens simultaneously for this recording. So thanks for watching.